Okay, this is Diversity of Life, Investigation 3 vocab, and the word we start with today is the cell. Definition is the basic unit of life. So what I have a picture of here is a piece of a leaf, a layer of a leaf, under a microscope, probably about 40 power or so, total magnification. And all these little bricks that you see, every one of these bricks is a cell. So all these cells make up a tiny little piece of the leaf. Cell membrane is a thin, flexible membrane that protects the cell. That picture that you just saw had a cell membrane, but it also had a cell wall. So I'm going to show you a different kind of a cell. This is from an animal. Actually, it's from your cheeks, the inside of your cheeks. And this outside layer is the cell membrane. It's flexible, and it protects what's inside the cell. And so we're back to that same picture of the plant leaf again. I can show you what a cell wall is here. Cell wall is different from a cell membrane because it's strong and it's rigid, meaning it's hard, and it has a hard outer covering. So each one of these lines is the cell wall. That's a cell wall, that's a cell wall, that's a cell wall. So these black lines here are the cell walls. And then inside, right next to it, would be the cell membrane. But you don't really see it in the plant cells because the cell wall is so much more rigid and darker looking. Then you have organisms that are considered unicellular. And that means that they're an organism that are made of one cell. So what I have here are three separate organisms, and they happen to be a bacteria called E. coli. Lots of different fun structures on them, but this whole thing here is one cell. So this is one living organism, this is one living organism, and this is one living organism. Some living things are considered multicellular, which means in order for that organism to exist, they're made up of many cells. So I gave you the example of that leaf again. This is just a tiny, tiny part of a leaf of an entire plant, but it shows you how many cells it takes to just have a little piece of a leaf. So there's many, many cells there that make up a small, small part of a leaf. Think of how many cells a human is made of. Cytoplasm. We're looking inside of a cell, and if you could do that in a microscope, what you would see is kind of a clear liquid. It sometimes can be seen moving, and hopefully you'll get to see that in class when we look at some of the plant cells. Sometimes it's moving within the cell. So this light green area, all of that would be considered cytoplasm. And then these little dark things are just drawings of other things that would be floating in that cell in the cytoplasm, including the big nucleus. So cytoplasm is a kind of jelly-like substance. Chloroplasts are structures that give plants their green color. So animals don't have chloroplasts. Chloroplasts are found again inside the cell, so you need a microscope to be able to see them. So what I put up here for pictures are two different magnifications of that same plant that you've been looking at all along. These kind of white looking bricks, those are the cell, and then these little green round things inside all over here are the chloroplasts. And you can see how the cell wall keeps the chloroplasts inside of the cell. And this is a little bit higher magnification, so you can kind of see the chloroplasts a little bit easier. You can see there's a chloroplast here, but it's kind of fuzzy because that's a different layer. So it's underneath the layer that you're currently seeing. A kingdom. All living things have to be organized in order for scientists to study them. So we're going to study 5 living kingdoms. Kingdoms are a group of organisms with similar characteristics. And the 5 kingdoms that you'll be studying this year: Animalia, which we belong to, the fungi kingdom, the mushrooms that you eat on your pizza, the Monera kingdom, these are all the bacteria that live here on Earth, protista, unicellular organisms that you'll be looking at in class, and then of course the plantae kingdom. Anything that is a plant is multicellular and has green color would belong to the plant kingdom. When you start looking at unicellular organisms, you're going to see all kinds of different structures that they have to help them get food and to help them eat and to get rid of waste and so forth. Cilia is one of those structures. Hair-like structures moves the protist and helps get food into the protist. So you'll be seeing this in labs this year, but if you look real close, you can see kind of a bubbly looking effect here on this real paramecium. That's the cilia, little hair-like things. But here's a drawing of it so you can really see how it's lined with little hairs, called cilia. Flagella, we're back to the bacteria that you looked at earlier. It's a whip-like structure that helps to propel an organism through its environment. So the flagella are these things. This is flagella, this is flagella, this is flagella. This is not flagella and it's not cilia either. These are called pilus. And the last structure to help unicellular organisms move is called a pseudopod, which means false foot. And again, it's used for movement. And we'll look at an amoeba. This is an amoeba under a microscope. It's a drawing of it. Pseudopods are going to change though. So as it moves, it puts out these kind of foot-like structures. And so this is called pseudopods extending. Over here, the pseudopods are retracting, so they're becoming less noticeable. So that's what pseudopods are.